Hi guys, we're going to look at your bell work right now. Hopefully you've actually got a good start on it. I hope that you notice that it looks similar to some of the stuff that we've been doing the past couple of days. In the first one that you look at, it says, what is the slope of the line that models the data and what does that slope represent? It depends on which points you picked and what you estimated them to be. As you can see, I picked the points 1, 60, and I picked the point 3, 80. I hope you picked those points as well. You can tell that they're right on a line. The other one that you could have picked was 5, 100. That would also have been an option. Oh, let me see. There we go. So as you're looking at it, you can see that the slope that I found, so you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The work is underneath there, so 80 minus 60, 3 minus 1, you get 20 over 2, so it's 10. But then it asks you, excuse me, it asks you to say what does that represent. So there's the explain part of it. The representation you would use is the labels. So your x-axis is labeled heating time in minutes. Your y-axis is labeled water temperature. And so what you would talk about is the rate at which water temperature is increasing over time. Okay, the reason that you write it in that order, remember when you find slope, it's y over x. So you use the y, water temperature, over the x, the heating time in minutes. So the water temperature increasing over time. You're able to put that temperature as increasing because your slope is positive, and so that's also something that you're allowed to include in that answer. All right, let's keep going. Write an equation to model the relationship between heating time and water temperature. Show all your work and make sure to define the variables you're using. We already talked about variables. X is time, Y is water temperature. You do not have a slope, or sorry, you do not have an intercept, so you have to plug it into point slope form first and then change it into slope intercept. It doesn't matter which point you picked. I used 1, 60. You could use 3, 80. Use the slope you just found, which was 10 in the above. Do the work, and you should have gotten y equals 10x plus 50. Letter C says, use your equation to predict what the water temperature will be after 8 minutes. So, again, with 8 minutes, what you're going to do is we just defined our variables. We know that time is x. So you're going to plug in 8 for x and solve. But then again, there's that explanation, what's going on. Since x represents minutes, then plug 8 in for x, solve for y to determine the water temperature after 8 minutes. I would include another sentence in here that says, after 8 minutes, the water temperature is 130 degrees Celsius. So I would include one more sentence actually explaining the solution. Okay. Letter D. When will the water reach 110 degrees? This one is different from the one before. You're not plugging 110 in for x, you're plugging it in for y, because y represents degrees Celsius. Plug it in, so 110 is equal to 10x plus 50. Subtract that 50 to the other side, divide by that 10, 6 minutes. So in 6 minutes, the water temperature will be 110 degrees. What temperature was the water when the experiment started? Justify your answer. So you would have to go back to the graph and look at 0. And so then from 0 you would go up. You would estimate a number somewhere between 40 and 60, so probably 50. But that's where they're pulling it from. At time 0, so that's when your experiment is starting. So the temperature was 50 degrees Celsius at the start. The y-intercept is the value of the starting temperature, so 0, 50. 0 is the beginning of the time of the experiment. Okay. I think that's everything we're going to go over for bell work right now. Go ahead and look for your homework. So look for your skill 13 and 14. That is the homework that is due for today, and we'll go through and look at some of the solutions. The first one, your answer should be letter B. Some people were confused by that. It's a 2L, not a 21, and so that's why that is set up the way that it is. Number 2, your inequalities, x plus y is less than or equal to 9. 0.22, because you're talking about cents, 0.49y greater than or equal to 3. Plugging it in does using 6 22-cent stamps and 3 49-cent stamps, does that work? And the answer is no, it does not. It meets the 9 stamp limit, but it does not get you up to the $3 that you need to have in postage. So that does not work. Okay. Keep going. The next question was probably the most labor-intensive, the food truck question. X is orange drink, Y is lime drink. This is probably the most common, 24X plus 18Y, because it's 24 cans and 18 cans, and they have room for 240 cans. Then the next inequality is about money, $28, $26, and then $300. Okay. Which options are possible? So you are plugging in these 4 different scenarios and checking to see if they work. That was probably the more labor-intensive part of this. You can see my work is on there. And then part D, it says which would give the most profit. So we know that option 1 and 2 worked. Which one's going to be the most profit? So you're plugging in money and checking it out. Option 1 ends up actually making the most profit. Apologize, there should be a 0 there. It's $19.20. Graphing. Number 1, X should be a vertical line, Y should be a horizontal line, and then shading. Naming 2 solutions is just giving 2 ordered pairs in the shaded area. Number 2, I chose to change the first inequality to slope-intercept form and then graphed accordingly. And then 3 and 4, those are my answers. Some students complained about the points being a little bit hard to see because the lines, the grid lines aren't in there. I understand that. I potentially agree with that. So I'm sorry if you found that part of it challenging. If your slopes are a little bit different, I can understand that and we can maybe justify that. But for something like that, if you look carefully, I chose, if you can see this, like this one, obviously your intercept is at -1, so that wasn't so bad. And then for slope, I just went over to my x-intercept. That was easy and an obvious point to pick, so up 1 and right 2. Same thing for this one. I started at -4 because that's my intercept. You can see I put a mark over here and used my x-intercept. So I went up 4 and I went left 4. So up 4, left 4 is equivalent to 4 over -4, which gives you a slope of -1. Okay, so that's what I did. Again, on this one, you can see I used -1 as my intercept, and then I used this point, and I used that same point for this other one. Again, I understand if you think it's a little bit challenging to see those points. I apologize. When we make tests or quizzes, I will do my best to find good graphs with coordinate grids. Okay, so that was your bell work and your IP. If you've got some more questions about your IP, please just have the guest teacher answer them, show them the answer key, or you can rewind this video and get to the point where you can find the work that you wanted to see again. Okay.